Hello everyone, welcome to Talk About, a new show on Shaw TV Campbell River. My name is John Twigg, and we're very pleased to have as our first guest, Mayor Walter Jakeway. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So I've got a ton of questions. We've got maybe less than 30 minutes. The first one is, why did you enter local government and how do you feel about it now?
Partly because when I started my own business in town, I had a tough time with City Hall, and that was in 2006, 2007, and I figured it can do a lot better. And if I didn't have deep pockets, I probably wouldn't have been able to get the business going. And other businesses need to have an easier ride. And I figured when I get this thing running, I'm going to go there and fix the system. And
are you making progress?
I've certainly learned a lot. I know exactly what's going to happen after the next election, if it goes the way I hope.
My last question is, are you going to run again?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because I didn't get to do what I wanted to do, what the town needs either. And I know a lot of people may disagree with what the town needs, but I think I got a pretty good idea. With a master's degree in business, I certainly have a good idea, and having done my own business, I think I really know what the answer is.
Yeah, and you came full circle in the pulp and paper industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
I started out here in '76 as a 23-year-old and ended up here retiring from this mill as a 55-year-old, having been through Mackenzie Mill and Port Alberni in both lower level jobs and all the way up to the top.
Okay, about the business climate here, the National Post on Monday, this recently, had an article about a survey done of the entrepreneurial qualities of different communities, and Campbell River was up 5 spots to 8 amongst mid-sized communities in BC. I've since seen that BC did poorly overall on the survey, but how do you feel about that? Did you see that survey? And
I went looking for it. I didn't see it, but I believe it's up. And certainly in the last 2 years, or certainly a year and a half, our economy is visibly, certainly in the construction industry, is doing extremely well. We're not doing as well in retail and service. We still have empty stores, and we still have people looking for jobs, and yet there's lots of jobs posted on the local job boards. But a lot of them requiring skills that aren't here, skills that have gone to Fort McMurray or Alberta. But yeah, the economy is doing better, but we should not sit back and rely on that. We still got a long way to go, and there's some key things we need to make it a lot more pleasant dealing with City Hall. I don't know anybody that goes to City Hall and comes away feeling good about the experience.
Well, I was at the council last night. It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. Last night was good. Last night was very short. It went through. I saw you in the back actually.
Yeah. I got a nice photo of you.
Oh, that's good. Well, touch it up. See if you can make it a little better.
Actually, you were looking a bit grim because there was the guy sort of haranguing council at the end there. But
oh yeah, with Scotty.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he got up at the end. I made him in. We ended the meeting first before we let him talk. But but he's got seniority, and in most things, seniority rules. He's been on council and around town for a long time, so he gets to. I wouldn't encourage everybody who's been here a long time to do that, but it was fun. It was, and he was talking on a favorite topic of homelessness and feeding the poor. And he's with St. Vincent de Paul Charities, which are also interested in helping out with assisted low-cost housing in town, and hopefully we'll see more of them because they're making it happen down in the Victoria, Sydney area, Souk, and we could transfer some of that up here. Would be great.
Good. We may revisit that general topic, but you know, we appreciate you coming on the show, first guest on Talk About. But I thought I'd give you a really open-ended question, a real softball. But what is the main message you want to send to the viewers and the community right now?
Don't give up. Like, we may not be making the progress that they expected, and I certainly have not been able to achieve what I promised in the last election, but don't give up because it will happen. We will get there. And I'm used to dealing with difficult situations. You can't manage a pulp and paper mill with 880 people without seeing people that are difficult to deal with. And we've certainly had lots of difficult people and difficult topics to deal with. I believe most of our problems are people. The problems are simple. The physical problems are simple. It's getting everybody to agree and get everybody to get out of the way if they're blocking the way.
That's a good segue to what I think is a really important question, and that's like the structure of local government. And as I'm sure you're aware, the local governments in BC have a huge overdependence on one tax source, property taxes. Right. And through the UBCM and others, they've been trying to diversify their revenues, such as through maybe a sharing of gas tax. How do you feel about that?
I think we don't need all the tax that we think we need. I think if we got our costs down and we're more efficient with the money we already have, my aim is to lower taxes 20% across the board. And I'll do it in my first term. I have a chance. Okay. They will drop 20%. There's that much inefficiency and waste.
Wow. That's a good segue to another burning question too. Right now, the term length is 3 years. There's no term limits. Right. But there's a push from a number of quarters that they want to move to a 4-year to coincide with provincial elections, maybe slightly before or after. So there's people that jump from one to the other. It would be easier. How do you feel about that? 3 years or 4 years?
Do it in the next term. Don't do it in this one.
So you want to get reelected for 3 years?
I want to get reelected, and I'll be glad to do the 4, and I'll be glad to do 2 4s. But that's it. Yeah. I'm not going to. I don't believe politicians should hang around and dominate the scene for too long.
Well, that was my feeling. I mean, I can understand the logic of the coordinating with the provincial, which is 4, but and it used to be 5, but 2 4-year terms.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's like...
We'll have done enough damage in that time.
Okay.
Other people need to have a chance.
Speaking of other people having a chance, Shaw TV has gone out and done some men in the street, streeters we call it. So let's watch those and then you can react to them.
Why don't we, the city the size that we are, have an SPCA that's up and running and stable? And that's what I'd like to discuss with him, but I'm sure people already have. And I volunteer with the SPCA. I donate to the SPCA on a monthly basis, and I have a great love for animals, and I'm really hoping we have an SPCA soon.
I was just curious in your position on medicinal cannabis and if you'd be in favor of having a medicinal dispensary in our town. Hopefully you'll be able to if the Sensible BC campaign goes through. So hopefully you'll be into that sort of thing. I think it'd be a good business for our town, and hopefully you're into that sort of thing. Or maybe you just want more concrete. I don't know.
The town is getting bigger. There is less room for parking or car. And also, Alder is getting also narrow. When you come down from Alder, there is almost no room to go, or to go to pass through, And that's it, I don't know why they did that,
Just too much hassle in the council. It has to be straightened out. And there's too much in the paper about not getting along. So they have to get along, no matter what, go with the flow, get things done.
Well, Mr. Mayor, do you want to bite on any of those?
Sure, let's go do the SPCA first.
Go for it.
And yesterday afternoon at 5 o'clock, there was an announcement by the SPCA in town that PetSmart Charities had issued a grant to the Campbell River SPCA group to deal with spaying of cats. We do have a lot of cats in our neighborhood, and if we can, their target is to neuter 1,500, and to try to avoid the population growth by neutering those cats.
Okay, now that's obviously a good thing to do, and it's a sizable amount of money. But does that solve the grievance that a lot of people had about losing the SPCA, or are they back enough now that that issue is solved?
Well, Campbell River is now parallel to the other communities on Vancouver Island. We were the last one that had the SPCA doing enforcement and a compound to hold dogs and cats, or actually dogs. The law says we only have to provide public safety, and that requires compounding dogs. Okay. So we're now equal to the rest of the communities on Vancouver Island. So as the SPCA returns, we didn't want them to leave in the first place, but it ended up they left. will be the same as the rest of the communities on the island.
Good.
And Coastal and Animal Control has done, we've had very few complaints. They seem to know how to do it. They're doing it in about 8 other communities. And
Okay. Well, we'll look at it and see
we'll
how
be
they
glad
do.
to have the SPCA come back and be a
Yeah.
full partner. We're willing to, we talked to them yesterday again and reminded them we're still willing to help them find a building. They are looking, they've got several sites in mind. And if they get the right one, we will try to expedite approval to get them in and get going again.
Okay. Number 2, medical cannabis.
Medical cannabis, not really a local government issue.
Well, if there's a local
But
dispensary.
But there was a
it
time
could
in
be a
my life
zoning
I
issue.
would have said absolutely no way.
Yeah.
But having had open heart surgery in 2007, medicine changes
Yeah.
and science is learning.
Yeah.
And I saw a program on CNN recently where they were using some of the elements of cannabis to solve epileptic seizures and other medical conditions that modern science hasn't figured out how to deal with.
Yeah.
And they were having pretty tremendous results.
Okay.
They weren't asking children, and it was children they were looking at, but
Yeah.
they weren't asking them to smoke it, but they were giving it liquid.
They were using it as
They were
medicine.
they were
Okay,
extracting
let's
what they
move
needed.
along. 30 minutes
Right.
flies by.
Right.
How about parking, and then I think they meant St. Anne's being too narrow down where that bus turn is, which...
St. Anne's is too narrow.
Yeah,
It's
and what's
just
going to happen on that?
Nothing. Council
Really?
has decided this week it's going to hold its course. It's about 6 to 1.
You're the one?
I'm the one. It's too narrow, and they are going to hold their course, and Alder's going to end up looking the same.
Huh, okay, and last but not least, Feuds on council. You just mentioned 6 to 1.
Yep.
How's that going, or is it 4 to 3 on other issues?
It's been 4 to 3 most of the time for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Recently, it's become 5 to 2 again more often. Division on council. Council's not supposed to think all the same. Even in higher levels of government, there's opposition in government.
Yeah.
It's just unusual to have the mayor on the side that's usually in the opposition.
Yes.
Right? But if we all thought the same, you will end up with a lot of the troubles we've had over the last many, many decades in our town. I look at it as there's a difference between dissension and dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
You want dissenting opinion so people consider other alternatives. You do not want dissension.
Yeah.
And
By the way, I've covered government a lot at my age now. I used to feel young. And mayors are allowed to have their own opinions.
that's correct. This
And
council, several councillors believed that was not the case.
Yes, but
and I was able
they're
to
wrong.
prove that to them, that you can have your
And
contrary
you got
opinion.
free legal advice to do that.
I did.
Yeah.
And I may have had the rate wrong because somebody was obviously playing with me by saying his
Yeah.
rate was so high, but it wasn't as high. I think I said the claim was it was $2,600 an hour. It's still substantial.
Yeah. I have had a run-in with lawyer bills too.
They don't-
It's life.
They understand how to add. They don't know how to subtract.
Yeah. I want to get to this containers for the homeless issue.
Absolutely.
This is news. Council recently,
Right.
last night,
Yep. Last night they approved the idea of putting
yes.
it beside the fire hall.
and tell us about that.
Okay, so the container issue is not new. Councillor Ron Kerr went and looked at this
Yeah.
particular unit the spring of 2012.
Yeah.
So when we first got in, we were it was one of my issues in the last
Yeah.
election was homelessness, and Ron got on board right away. Ron and I didn't know each other before the election. We've become
really?
good friends along the way here. But
Fellow travelers, it's called.
we have misery likes company, right? But anyway, he went and looked at this container ages ago, and
Yeah.
it was in Coquitlam, and they had it in Coquitlam for a year, and then it got taken to High River, Alberta to
For the
help with the
flood.
flood issues. The driver who I met, it's been stored at my storage business since before or Thanksgiving area time,
Yeah.
and the driver said when they took it away from Coquitlam, there were people crying. The homeless people crying, they saw their house leaving. Right, that's how attached they got to it. We don't
Yeah.
want them to become that attached to it here
Yeah.
because it can't stay there for the long term.
Yeah.
This winter, it's come up pretty quickly. We kind of got the money available in September.
Yeah.
We've been able to get BC Housing to change their policy on helping to fund it. There was some reluctance by them to fund it. They like to fund.
Did you personally lobby or
Oh
have
yeah.
stuff?
Oh, I wrote them a letter that
Okay.
nobody could turn down.
There's not even an election coming.
No, there isn't, but it was a good one. I don't mind throwing words around. But anyway, they in the past have only funded housing if it's below 0 degrees C.
Oh.
right? So at +1, if you're cold, you don't know if it's 1 or 0.
Oh, we had a death of a fellow outside the former Walmart one winter here not too long ago.
I look upon even the homeless, they are citizens of our town. If people in our town are in trouble, it's my role and council's role to help them.
Yeah.
They are citizens. They may not pay much tax the normal way. They are citizens. And we had, the day after I got sworn in 2011, there was a citizen dead on the sidewalk in front of what used to be the Hide Inn.
Yeah.
That next morning, 7:30 in the morning, I got called by the RCMP saying there's a dead fellow on the street. We went from bagpipes and celebration the night before to down to earth reality.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big wake-up call.
Yeah.
That winter 2011, a second person died on the beach of exposure.
Yeah, that's
Right,
one of
we
those.
can't tolerate that to happen again.
Now, there was quite a few headlines about you going to try this container yourself.
Yeah.
But you told me before we went on air, there's a problem with that.
So we talked to the people running it last night and said, it's great to have a celebration. I'll do it. I don't mind. I'll sleep anywhere. But if we do it now with these nights when the fog gets cold, we're going to be denying somebody a warm place to stay because it's going to be pretty full right off the bat. And they are welcome to come and stay at my house. In the spring of 2012, I had a homeless guy in my basement of my house for 4 months. First Nations fella who's now living on the streets in Vancouver. I met him at McDonald's, and he gave up an unobstructed view of the ocean and 200 channels to go to Vancouver.
Again, there's so many issues we could raise. Thank you again for
Go on
coming.
forever.
But I'm torn between talking about the development boom and the hospital situation. Maybe we got time for both.
Let's do the hospital.
Okay, yeah.
The hospital, they're having a great time designing their new hospital.
Yes.
It's too small.
Yes.
We need to leave the old hospital up.
Absolutely.
And to knock it down
Amen.
is
So glad you said that.
ridiculous to knock it down. 2/3 of it's only 35 years old or less.
I told Tom Sparrow the first day he was in Campbell River, I said it's better than 95% of the hospitals in the world.
And it can be mothballed for a while if they can't afford to do something with it,
Yeah.
but we can do something with it.
Yeah,
Claire
absolutely.
Trevina called me the first day after she got elected, the first business day,
Yeah.
and said, how do we keep the hospital from getting knocked down?
Yeah.
And I said, the city issues demolition permits, and as long as I'm mayor, ain't going to get signed. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, it stays up, and we smarten up and use it properly. And let's put some tunnels between the new one and the old one, so you can go back and forth without going out in the rain.
Excellent.
I know I sound like a hard line on
Well,
that, but it's
you got
there's such
elected
thing
as a hardline anti-tax right-winger, and all of the issues you're handling, you're on so far to the left, I can't see you.
I can play the role either way, whichever. The trick is do
That's
what's
a good
right.
way to get reelected, by the way.
The trick is do what's right.
Yes.
Don't worry about the bureaucracy and what they say. My weakness is I don't respect incompetence.
Oh.
That's my lifetime weakness. I got told that in the pulp industry. Your problem, Walter, is you don't respect incompetence. And the problem is there's people above you who are incompetent and they know you don't respect them.
It's like guys that leave trains without the brakes on.
That's the idea.
Yeah, okay.
I spent a lot of time getting educated to become competent, and I got a lot of experience in business, both in my own and in pulp and paper.
Okay. Getting over to the, and I know that there's
The
lots of
boom?
issues
Sure.
about the services that are maybe lacking in the hospital, but
Yep.
we'll deal with that another day. The development boom, segueing to what are we going to do with the 3.5 acre site? This is the vacant site, the last vacant waterfront in Campbell River?
My view of what that site is,
Yeah.
it's a park.
Okay.
Forever and ever and a
Huh.
day. It should not be developed. Otherwise, we're going to become tunnel town. We already got 2 fairly good buildings going up right now, and thank goodness we do. It's great to have them, but we don't need them on both sides of the street.
Okay.
We need to have it. It could be a boat ramp there for that matter, but it should be a public park.
Okay.
And our neighbors, the Campbell River Indian Band, they own the 6 acres beside it. They can do what they want. But that space, I'd like to see the breakwater made 100 feet wide all the way out to the entrance to Discovery Harbor.
So that is city land, the 3.5
city
acre.
land.
It's not Indian Reserve
No,
land.
it's city,
Okay.
but beside it's 6 acres.
Yeah.
The funny thing is it's not rectangular, it's not round, it's kind of weird shaped.
Yeah.
And by the time you have the setback from Roberts Reach, the highway, and they're 66 feet back from the beach.
Yeah.
Right? You got enough room for a 7-Eleven and a parking lot.
Don't even go there.
And 3.5
cheat.
acres sounds big, but when you start chopping all these pieces off, it
that's
gets
true.
small.
It is true.
It's,
One of my favorite issues, or maybe that's not quite the right word, but the Campbellton neighborhood renewal.
Right.
You know, Ron Kerr deserves a medal for the hard work he's doing
right.
on that.
And I've been going to their meetings.
Yeah.
Campbellton
Are you coming around
needs
on that? Are you going to lobby to get Campbellton neighborhood?
Campbellton needs to look like Willow Point.
Yeah.
It needs curbs, it needs sidewalks, it
Yeah.
needs streetlights. It needs to be, it's been ignored. Same with North
Yeah.
Campbell River. The people
Yeah.
north of the bridge, they've been ignored. They joined, they're paying taxes like the rest of us,
Yeah.
and they're getting zipped for service.
Speaking of people joining Campbell River, how are you going with trying to annex the north part of Area D?
I don't really care if Area D joins us or not. If they want sewers, they got to join. If they don't want sewers, they can stay right where they are. And yet, that is the #1 priority for council this year, by the way.
Oh,
but,
really?
But I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Would you let Area D do their own sewage treatment plant? Not that you can stop it.
I
but-
won't. We have no say, but the provincial government won't let them. If we have our sewer treatment system
Yeah.
has capacity for 64,000 people,
And there's 35 in it right now?
and there's 35 right now. The provincial government won't let little sewer treatment plants. The other thing is they don't realize what they cost to run. They're extremely expensive.
Actually, I know Brenda Lee, and I think she does know.
Though she's not letting on.
Well, she's probably bargaining,
But
just like you are.
You know what? If I lived in, I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but if I lived in Area D and I had a good operating septic system, I wouldn't join Campbell River.
Yeah.
We don't deserve it yet.
Well-
We need to earn their respect, and then they'll want to join us.
That little part near the Jubilee Parkway is kind of sitting on a marsh, so they don't have drainage.
Right.
And
They're in trouble.
Yeah, they are.
Right. And
Okay.
I think if we don't annex them, or if we don't get them to join us, I think the provincial government's going to tell them. Because that area is, there's going to be health issues if there
Yeah.
aren't already.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty ripe.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. You know, we're doing a good job of hitting on tough issues here, and here's another one. The city role in promoting regional tourism. Can you update us on
yeah,
that?
there's actually consultants in town this week from the regional district trying to push, because I'll tell you what, we're on the regional district, I'm on it as well. For the last 5 years, their #1 item is regional tourism.
Yeah.
#1 priority. They've never got past #1 priority yet.
Yeah.
So the mayors, earlier this year, we meet separately from the rest of the board as well, and we said, you know what, let's get our #1 item done. It's critical
Yeah.
that we have regional tourism.
What's the holdup? Is it like jurisdictions paying more and getting less, or
Well,
not being
give an
fairly
example, Area
treated?
D voted to not be part of it, and a Sayward, not Sayward Village, but Sayward District
Yeah.
out to the west coast, they voted to not be part of it. Division on the regional district board.
Yeah.
And yet they've got resorts in their areas,
Yes.
and they're saying they're not going to be part of it. That's
Yeah.
the problem. The rest
Yeah.
of them, the regional district, all for it.
Yeah. Just to play devil's advocate a bit, though, isn't there a danger that Campbell River, with its dominant votes on regional district matters, can sort of force spending on regions that don't want it?
Nope.
No.
No, the provincial legislation controls what we can
Okay.
vote on. When they vote on areas, regional stuff,
Yeah.
we're not allowed to vote.
Okay.
When it's common, we can vote, but
Yeah.
on stuff specifically for the A, B, C, and D areas,
So you can't force Area D taxpayers to subsidize the pamphlet for Campbell River.
I'm sure if we did, there would be sparks.
Carls, yes. I'm sure there would be too.
And you know, Brenda does okay.
Yeah.
She sits right beside me at the board there. We get along fine.
Yeah, no, well, actually, she's been reelected so many times, it's kind of like, you know, she must be doing something
When
right.
she watches this video and finds, here's what I said about I wouldn't vote to join,
Yeah,
she'll be shocked. And I'm sure most of our council will be unhappy.
well,
But right now, we don't deserve them. Like,
Okay.
we need to make it that they want to join us. And we'll make it that way that they want to join.
well, for people that have just tuned in, you're watching Talk About on Shaw TV. My name is John Twigg. Our first guest is Mayor Walter Jakeway. And down the road, we may well have Brenda Lee on too.
Brenda's fine. I have no problem with her at all.
Yeah.
We get along great.
Yeah, that's great.
She's got spunk.
I think you do too.
Oh, hopefully.
I think the other councillors would agree with me. How about, are there issues at the airport that are burning, or is it
Well,
kind of all right?
Okay, I tell you, the airport's bigger than it was.
Yeah.
It's still sucking 300,000 a year out of Campbell River. There's 50,000 passengers, so the citizens are subsidizing it at roughly $6 a person. It's not economically viable in that sense. We still need it, and then we need to market it.
Yeah.
And hopefully regional tourism will help with that.
Lengthening the runway was supposed to bring industrial services, and I haven't seen much
But putting
yet.
in a cruise ship dock was supposed to bring in cruise boats too.
Yeah, we can
And
talk
it didn't
about
happen.
that for...
It didn't happen.
Yeah,
But you know what? It's all a case of our story. Campbell River doesn't advertise itself.
that's a great segue to River Corp.
Yeah, yeah. Kaboom. Anyway,
I promised him I wouldn't do any curveballs.
we need to market ourselves.
Yeah,
When people come here and find out, I look at Jos at Eagle Eye Adventure Tours from the Netherlands. He went to Europe this last winter to the largest trade show for tourism and advertised his business, Eagle Eye Adventure, and Campbell River.
Yeah.
And he got a huge response of Europe.
yeah. And
Europe
there's
doesn't
that-
even know about us.
The TV fishing show that was here filming in the summer, I think that was the same situation, kind of. One person went and said, hey,
Yep.
come on along.
In about a few months, or 6 weeks ago, they had me out with them, European TV network, for a day on Jos's boat. We went all over the place showing them what was available for them to come back and do a complete show on it. These were the scouts.
That's a good, I wasn't planning to ask this question, but it seems germane. How many hours a day are you, and how many hours a week are you spending?
It's supposed to be a 65% job.
Yeah,
So it's busy. A non-retired person couldn't do it.
yeah,
There is no way.
Yeah.
A person with a job running their own business, there's absolutely not a chance.
Yeah.
If you worked for a large corporation or a government agency, you could do it because you could sneak away.
yeah.
But you'd never do it on your own. Just no way. It's way more fun. First of all, most of council, we are retired. There's only Councillor Moglov, Councillor
Minnie,
Minnie, and Councillor Story is working part-time.
Funny thing, last night, I went to the hospital meeting last night, and as I was driving back home, I thought, I'll stop in at council and see if they're still going to get a picture. I was listening to Ryan Minnie on the radio, and there he is sitting in
Yeah.
council.
But he's also I think he's in the Alberni Valley at the same time as well.
Yeah,
He's,
it's a secret that people pre-record their shows.
exactly. But it goes on a lot.
Yeah. Maybe about 1 minute left, but the wireless free Wi-Fi project, how do you feel about that? Is that going to...
Well, I pushed it. I was the guy, and I think it's wonderful.
Provided by Shaw.
But for me, it isn't that we all have our little cell phones.
Yeah.
It's security cameras. I want to have security cameras throughout the whole town, and the cost of putting security cameras in is the wiring. But if you can do it through a wireless network, you save an incredible amount of money, and it provides great access. I believe we need about 5 dozen.
Yeah.
I'd also like to see automatic license plate readers at all the entrances and exits, so we know who's in the clubhouse and who's not. So if people we don't want are here, we know it.
Big brother.
A big brother. But you know what? If we're going to protect our people,
Yeah.
and there is a lot of organized crime, even in little old Campbell River, let's know who's here and who's not here.
We got 1 minute left. Do you want to do Urban Hens or Pacific Carbon Trust?
Urban Hens is easy.
Yeah.
As long as they keep them under control, they're fine. We passed the bylaw last night.
No roosters.
No roosters. And I don't have one of my neighbors has beehives, like 5 beehives. Are we going to put
that's
a
a
law
good
in
thing.
controlling beehives?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. Just don't offend your neighbors. Like,
Yeah.
we're trying to live together and share some eggs or something. I don't know.
Okay, probably 10 seconds, Pacific Carbon Trust. Get rid of it or
I'd get
keep
rid of it all. I'd get rid of the carbon tax and the trust.
Oh, we got to talk again.
Yep. Carbon tax is just inflationary.
Yeah, it is. Well,
There's
I
my
think,
left-wing stuff.
Mr. Mayor, we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much for being the first guest on Talk About with Shaw TV. My name is probably underneath there somewhere. It's John Twigg. And watch Shaw Community at Campbell River because we're going to have some good stuff in the months ahead. So thank you again, and thank you viewers, thank you volunteers for helping produce this show, and thank you Shaw for putting it on.